Hi and welcome. What are you laughing at?
You just kind of went and stopped, didn't talk.
Every episode I have with you, you just start laughing at me when I do my... Hi guys and welcome to this episode. Now today's episode is going to be a good one because I've got a returning guest. I've got a returning guest in the form of Tracie, but before we talk about that, before I introduce you...
Do I count as a guest?
Or do you want to be a co-host?
Oh no, because that makes it sound like I'm going to be here lots.
Co-host. Oh my goodness, you've just promoted yourself on my podcast. You've already tried hijacking it. We're going to come on to that in a second. Now you've promoted... Anyway, I've got a bit of a skit, a bit of a joke. The vase. I need to address the vase. I'm going to move it out of the way. Do you want to just mention the vase quickly, why I move it?
The vase?
Yeah.
So this is what we've done all of last week. We visited lots and lots of garden centres in the plan to purchase a vase and some fake flowers to make an autumnal arrangement.
Yeah, an autumnal arrangement. Guys, I don't know if you've ever checked out the price of fake flowers, but they're really expensive. Like one stick was a £5, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like really expensive.
Yeah.
Some of them were more, weren't they?
Yeah, loads of them were like $9.99 for one stick.
Yeah.
I mean, they do look really amazing.
They do look good, even if you do say so. You made it.
No, I don't mean like as the arrangement. I just mean like the one stick of the flower that's a tenner. Yeah. It does look really good.
It looks real. It does look real. Like you wouldn't know the difference from distance, would you?
No.
If you inspect it under a microscope, you might do.
Yeah, you would.
But anyway, my point is... That is our new... What we're going to do in the winter when the autumn...
So we'll change it for a Christmas arrangement and it'll have sparkly things in it for Christmas.
Oh my goodness. All right, so yeah, look forward to future episodes having seasonal vases of flowers included. Okay.
I mean, no one can really appreciate how big it is.
No, it is huge. The camera doesn't do it justice, which is why I put it here in front of Tracie. Because it is ridiculous. When people come into our house, it's the first thing they mention, and they normally mention it with a expletive as they see it. So it's a big arrangement of expensive flowers. It is. But the good news is this episode is not about flower arranging or the cost of plastic flowers. This episode is actually going to be a really good one. So Tracie, who, for those of you that didn't listen to my previous episode, which was about veganism, not the last episode, but I think it was a couple of episodes ago now, we discussed veganism, and Tracie was the guest for that show. And what's the reason you're back?
You want me to say it's because I wanted to be here.
Yeah. Is that not the case?
No.
Okay. All right, thanks. What's the reason?
I'm just here, just doing it with you to kind of manage you.
Yeah, so Tracie got some positive feedback from the last episode.
It turns out other people
like listening to you.
Like listening to me.
So yeah, which she was a bit taken aback by, weren't you? And it was one of those things where when I mentioned it to her, I said, look, you have to come back and do it again with me. So there's been two things that we've done together that people have actually responded to in a positive way. That episode about veganism, where you actually spoke with an authority on turning vegan for the first time, you was able to articulate some really good points about some of the challenges we face, and people appreciated that. So I got some positive feedback. And in the other video we did on my YouTube channel, which was the worst running vlog, where we ran 10K together, and you don't run, do you?
No.
You just boshed out a 10K as if it was nothing. You did it.
Well, it wasn't as if it was nothing. It was a bit tricky. She
did it worryingly easy. That's how easy you boshed it out. But I got the feedback I got from the video was very positive. So I've asked her to come and do another 10K video with me. She's refused.
No, I don't mind doing this because I'm sitting here and it's nice and warm and cozy.
So you've conceded to come and do an episode of my podcast, which you're happy to do, okay, rather than run a 10K.
Yeah, I'd much rather do a podcast than run another 10K.
Fair enough. So, and the other thing as well is not only has she done a self-promotion where she is now the new co-host of my podcast show, Condon UNSCRIPTED. I don't know if I've mentioned that. Welcome to Condon UNSCRIPTED. Not only is she...
I mean, we are scripted because I have a list.
Yeah, it's not a script. It's 4 bullet points.
Well, it's a list.
Okay. So not only has she self-promoted herself to co-host, but she has also taken over creative control of my podcast and is today's producer because she's come up with the content. So you've got 4 subjects that we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk them? Do you want to talk everyone listening through them?
Okay, so we're going to talk about where we are right now in
Can I
terms of...
hang on? Sorry to interrupt. Right, but as producer, you need to know how microphones work. So it means you've got to talk into them. If you start turning your head towards the other
The
side,
producers don't normally do the talking. They
Yeah,
normally
they
do the
can.
whispering in your ear.
yeah, but when you're
to
a
tell
small
you what to
when
do.
you're a small production team of one, you kind of need to do that. Okay.
I need like a microphone here, so it's just I don't have to do this.
No, this is better.
If you say so. I have nothing to compare it to.
Okay.
Anyway, so we're going to talk about where we are right now and your lack of events coming up and, you know, the reason why we was able to go and buy our fake flowers. You have got a small event coming up and more importantly, what goes on in the background with me and the girls for your events. And we're going to talk about what we end up doing and what it's like from our perspective to be supporters at these events.
So just to context them first 2 points. So the first point is around the fact that I've done zero training since my 100k ultra 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Well, I say zero, next to no training, considering that I've got a marathon next week, which is
Yeah.
a bit worrying. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about when you do come to these events, like the Battersea Marathon, which I've got next week, and the 100k ultra, and my London to Brighton bike ride, and the fan dance, and all the other events.
All of them.
All the events that I
All
do.
around the country.
What you get up to when
Yeah.
I drag you along to them
Yeah.
as my support crew. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And then what plans you've got for the rest of this year and next year? What challenges you're going to set yourself? What events you're doing?
Yep.
And
Or lack of at the moment.
yeah.
Yep.
And then that's it. And then hopefully that should take us an hour.
Okay. Okay. What's the last point? There was 3 there. You've got 4 written down.
It's kind of like the same.
You've written
the
it
same
twice.
things. So like where we are now, the marathon, and then what we do, and then challenges you want to try this year and next year.
Okay, fair enough. All right, good. So point number 1. So
Well, we're starting off what we've done this week. So because of your lack of events
Yeah.
and zero training, that
Yeah.
has meant that we've been able to go off and visit multiple garden centres
Yeah.
to purchase our vase and fake flowers. Now, this wasn't the first vase we come to, was it?
Yep.
We did find multiple vase choices in the end.
Yep.
And this is what we settled on because we had the spare time available.
Yeah, running the risk of making this sound like a crafty podcast, which, to be fair, when we were talking about doing the podcast and we were talking about subjects, and I said, what subjects do you want to discuss? What your words were, I think your exact words were, well, if I did a podcast, I wouldn't be talking about running or cycling.
Yeah.
What would you be talking about?
I'd be talking about crochet hooks and wool and, you know, the different sharpness of multiple pairs of scissors I own.
Yeah, different sharpness, different grades of scissors. So for those that don't know, obviously, and that's everyone, unless you are a
Unless
member,
they actually know me.
yeah, unless they're a member of our family or friends. For everyone that's listening, Tracie is a keen crocheter. She likes crochet.
Yeah.
And I don't mean the sport. I mean as in the...
No, that's croquet.
Croquet. It's spelt the same, isn't it? So, yeah, you're a keen...
Crafter.
You're and that's not in a Del Boy wheeler dealer way, is it?
No, in the making things,
Yeah.
sewing, sticking,
Yeah. So,
knitting, crocheting.
and you do that when I'm out running or cycling or going to the gym, you make stuff,
Yeah.
don't you? And you've got
Yeah.
a whole room
Yeah.
as well.
Dedicated
To it. So if you were to start a podcast, that's what your podcast would be about.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, good thing it's my podcast and that you've
Yeah.
only promoted yourself to co-host then, isn't it? So look, we've had some time to go out, spare time, whereas I'd normally be at the gym or I'd be cycling or out running, and I really should be. I don't know why I haven't been, and we should probably discuss the psychological reasons for that. But
That's getting a bit deep.
yeah, well, there isn't really any psychological reasons other than the fact that I've been lazy.
Well,
That's
yeah.
the psychological reason. I just haven't had the training.
You haven't had the events or the need to train.
Well, I have, because I've had the 100k.
Yeah, but that's finished. We're talking about since then.
Since then, yeah. I mean, when I did the 100k, I destroyed my toe.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really run for...
You couldn't walk for several days.
No, because I mean, physically I felt fine. My muscles were good. I felt really strong, but my toe was just, I annihilated it. I thought I broke it. I went to the doctors. I went to the A&E and had it x-rayed, and it was fine. It wasn't broken. But the doctor said it was just really badly bruised. But I couldn't walk on it, so it was quite painful. So that kind of put me in a bit of a slump. And now since then, I have run, so in the last 3 weeks, I have run 3 times. But they've only been 6-mile runs. There's a loop run near my house that I run, and it's exactly 6 miles, like door to door. And it's really nice because it goes around the farmland and all the trail footpaths. But it's a nice little route because it's not so far that it destroys your day, or you've got to take the entire day off to achieve it, but it's far enough that you know you've done a bit. And I've done that 3 times in 3 weeks. I've had a few Zwift races, which, by the way, some of those races are available on my Patreon page. If you would like to support me there, I'd really appreciate it. And I do upload my races. What are you laughing at? Do you like my seamless segue into my advert for my Patreon page? But I do upload videos and exclusive content on there as well. So I appreciate anyone that supports me on there. I really appreciate you guys. But yeah, it's given us time, hasn't it, to do some family stuff. And I've enjoyed it. Yeah. What have you enjoyed especially? Buying this?
Yeah.
Not spending the time with me?
Well, that as well.
You have? Are you saying that publicly?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, okay. So, yeah. So what was the point you wanted to cover off?
That was it, that you've got no events.
Yeah.
Nothing coming up. And then just the Battersea Marathon.
Yeah. Which is next week.
Yeah.
Which I haven't trained for.
No.
So I'm going to go into that. I mean, we've been discussing it, haven't we? Originally, when I first planned the Battersea Marathon, it was because I did it last year and I really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. And now the Battersea Marathon is pancake flat, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there's absolutely no gradient whatsoever.
No inclines at all.
No. If you look at the gradient map for the event, it is
0.
Yeah. It is the flattest event I've ever done. And the reason for it is it's a 10 loop around, it's a loop that you do 10 times around Battersea Park. Mm-hmm. Battersea Park's a really nice park. I don't know if you've ever seen it in central London. One of my favourite parks. My nan and granddad were born and grew up literally stone throw from Battersea Park in Westminster. And I used to spend a long time as a child in Battersea Park. So I've got very fond memories. So when I'm running around it as a marathon runner or in a marathon event, I very much enjoy it. And because it's 10 loops, which is very repetitive, isn't it?
Yeah, just round and round.
I enjoy that.
Yeah.
For some reason, my brain enjoys repetitiveness.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Yeah, just agreeing with me. So, yeah. But I'm looking forward to it because unlike the London Ultra or even the Thames Path Ultra, which I did 3 weeks ago, that was just one dead straight line along the Thames. So I never saw the same view twice. I did the entire thing constantly changing scenery around me. Battersea Park is very different. So I'm going to be seeing the same loop over and over. Well, 10 times. Yeah. But I haven't trained for it.
No.
How do you think I'm going to get on?
I think you'll do it. It's easy. There was a guy last year that did it in Crocs, so it can't be that hard.
Oh, it can't be that hard. I mean, yeah. I don't know why. I'm trying really hard to stay away from the challenge of doing crazy stuff like that. I don't want to hurt myself.
No, but it'll just be a nice event. As long as it's not raining. I think if it's raining, which it has rained quite a bit recently, that could put a bit of a dampener on the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want it raining.
No, so as long as it's dry, it will just be a nice marathon.
Yeah. So that's...
enjoyable. Because normally when you do events, there's an extra element to them that makes the enjoyableness just fizzle away. You know, like that last marathon you did, it had all of the inclines that you could ever possibly imagine. Oh, the Waldenham Marathon. Yeah, and that just kind of took the enjoyment out. Yeah. And then like the 100K, it was enjoyable up to a point, and then it's not enjoyable anymore because it's just so long. Yeah. It's just such a long distance. Whereas this one has got nothing to take away the enjoyment. No. The original plan for the Battersea Marathon when I signed up for it last year was to set myself a PR because it's a perfect route to set a PR or PB or whatever you want to call it, because it's pancake flat. You haven't got to use a map because you're running a loop. Once you've done the loop once, which isn't that far,
once you've done the loop once, you know exactly the corners to cut and the route to take and the course of least resistance. So you can set a really good pace.
Well, it must be a 2.6 mile loop.
Yeah.
If there's 10 of them.
Exactly. So it's a case of just being able to set a pace and maintain it, which gives you the ability to get a really good marathon time, which was my aim. My aim was to get a really good marathon time. Now, my lofty goal of marathon running, and I'm not fast because I'm still really heavy and I've not been doing a lot of training. I'm not a fast runner. I've been doing some park runs where I actually got myself a really good time. But marathon distance, I don't have a great time. And the last time I ran it, I did so having injured myself just before. Do you remember last year, the Battersea Marathon? Remember I did that thing on the spin bike in the gym.
Oh, you hurt your ankle.
Yeah.
Which meant you couldn't do the race to the stones. You had to pull out of it completely.
No, that was this year. I'm talking about last year before the Battersea Marathon. I sprinted on the spin bike in the gym.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, so when we was at the gym in Thurrock, the room that has the spin bikes in, I sprinted and I had to go to A&E on crutches because I thought my muscles just went boom in my foot. Do you remember?
Yeah, and then you didn't get to do Race to the Stones.
No, Race to the Stones was this year. That's when I hurt my feet because of the fan dance. There's a difference. So the fan dance, I destroyed my feet because I wore boots, and I didn't hurt my muscles. I gave myself wounds, like literal open wounds on my feet.
Yeah, on your heels.
And I couldn't do Race to the Stones. Last year, I sprinted on a spin bike, thinking it was the same.
Yeah, I remember you doing that.
Yeah, thinking it was the same as my watt bike, where the resistance stops, and it didn't stop.
The wheels kept going round.
Yeah, so the pedals carried on going. And I didn't, my feet just went floppy. One of them I got out, but the other one got caught up in the pedals as it went round. So it pulled all the muscles in my ankle.
Yeah, it really hurt your ankle.
Yeah, I really hurt myself.
I remember.
It was painful. The most pain I've ever had other than a broken ankle. And I couldn't do the Battersea Marathon. I was able to do the Battersea Marathon, but I did run it, but I ran it on an injured foot. I was able to have enough. I think there was a 3-week gap from doing it to actually running it, but I'd hurt my ankle so much
you couldn't do any training.
No, and I went into it with an injured ankle, running on an injured ankle.
So it's the same this year. You're going into it with no training.
I'm not injured,
but just no injury.
I'm not injured, so I'm looking forward to it. I have done 100k recently. I've done a few runs. I mean, I'm not anywhere near the where I should be to set a PR, which is disappointing because it would be nice to have a really good PR under my belt. But I'm going to enjoy it. I'm just going to go into it. I'm going to have fun. And the good thing is I keep myself at a place where I consider myself to be marathon ready.
Yeah.
So I'm always...
At any point you could just rock up and run a marathon.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I keep myself. Even if it means I don't run it particularly fast or set a PB, a really good time, if it means I can turn up and run it without stopping, without having to walk, then I'm happy that my fitness levels are okay. If it ever reaches the point that I turn up at these events and I have to walk, I've let things go too far.
Yeah.
I need to get back on it.
You need to seriously assess yourself.
And I'm justifying not doing any training recently. I do need to get back on it, don't I?
Yeah. Yeah, you really do.
Yeah. I've let things go over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's awful. It's awful.
Right, you're not supposed to say stuff like that. You're supposed to... Right, what was the next point on your list, Miss Producer?
So how me and Maddie are actually really excited for this Battersea Marathon.
All right, okay.
So not because of you running a marathon, like that's not exciting at all.
So this is your behind the scenes point?
Behind the scenes, yeah. So when we went last year, had we been to the power station previously to this, or was that the first time?
No, we had been before.
We had?
Yeah.
Yeah, so... But Scarlett had hurt herself at gymnastics, so she got left at home. So it was just me and Maddie with you.
Yeah. We sound like a family of injury or hypochondriacs at the moment.
I know.
Everyone's getting hurt. These are literally the only injuries that we've all sustained.
Yeah. It's the only one she's ever had. But it meant she was left at home that day, so it was just me and Maddie. And we'd had to leave particularly early. We hadn't had breakfast, and we decided that we wanted breakfast when we got there. So you started your running, and we went off to find ourselves some breakfast, and we ended up having a really lovely breakfast in Lyon. So
basically what you're saying is when you come support me on these events, the priority is not to support me, but they have a fun time.
Yeah. 100%. Come and find ourselves somewhere nice to have something nice to eat. We'd ended up in Starbucks, and that was when I discovered that I actually can have pumpkin spice, even though I don't like coffee. And then we went to the zoo, which is in Battersea Park, which was really nice. Maddie really enjoyed that.
I did wonder where all my support was when I was running round. I was looking for you.
Yeah.
You disappeared
we
off.
got distracted with
So you
our
had
own
fun.
stuff. And then we did a bit of shopping in the power station.
Yeah.
And then we come back and we supported you. We was there. We clapped.
Yeah, I remember. I'm only joking.
We clapped.
For anyone that's not been to...
And we provided water and fizzy drinks.
You did, yeah.
And we was there at the finish line.
Yeah. Do I make you feel guilty now? Do you feel you need to justify that?
No, I don't feel guilty at all.
Oh, no, okay. That's good, because I was worried.
I just don't want everybody else to think that we was just there for ourselves.
Oh, okay.
We have to make the most of being at these places.
I will say, listen, for the benefit of anyone listening, your support, you and the girls, but you especially, and the girls, in case they're listening, but they don't listen to my podcast, so I can say this. Your support is fantastic. Like, I couldn't do anything I do without you, could I? I'm going to say that because I know that's what you'll say in a minute, because you say that to me all the time.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to. Like, no. You physically wouldn't be able to. No,
I couldn't. Not without your support. And your support, I mean, this was one of my tips. When I made a video before about the best way to lose weight and get fit and start training and do challenges and, run marathons or run half marathons, whatever, cycle a long way. I always said this is the best tip I can give to anyone. Forget about nutrition, forget about training, forget about having the best pair of trainers or fantastic 6-grand bike. The best thing you can do is have someone support you. Whether that be a partner, your mum, your dad,
knowing there's somebody at the finish line waiting for you.
Knowing you've got someone there who not only supports you on events at the finish line, because psychologically, it's a huge boost to know you and the girls are going to be there to watch me finish across that line. But having you at home as well supporting me, knowing that you are okay with what I'm doing, all the hours of training normally, not for this Battersea marathon, but normally all the hours of training, all the sacrifices, all the antisocial hours, like, you allow me to do that. And I couldn't imagine doing it with someone who just didn't want me doing that. Could you?
Well, you wouldn't be able to.
No, it'd be too hard, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And all the hours we just have to sit around.
Yeah. I would say, changing the subject, because this feels very deep and meaningful, I would recommend to anybody that's not been to Battersea Park or even Battersea in general, the Battersea Power Station is a fantastic day out.
Oh, it's brilliant.
There's a lift that you can take. If you haven't seen it, Battersea Power Station, there's 2 huge smoke funnels, two
Isn't
massive.
Isn't it 4?
2, I think it's 2, no. Is it 4?
I think it's 4, one on each corner.
I could be wrong. I need to Google it now. I haven't got my phone.
Oh, me neither.
We're going to have to go with a number of funnels or towers on each corner, and you can go to the top of one of them.
I'm sure it's one on each corner.
It really doesn't matter, please, for the love of God, and for the sanity of the podcast. You can go to the top of one of the towers, can't you?
Yeah, in the lift.
Yeah, and that was the point of my story there, not how many towers there are at Battersea Power Station. Okay, good.
And you can see the whole of London from up there.
Yeah.
It's like a big glass lift.
I highly recommend it. I mean, I'm not being sponsored by Battersea Power Station, but if you live in or around London, or even if you take days out to London, highly recommend doing the tower experience or the lift experience.
What was it called?
I can't remember. That's why I said tower experience. It was called something. It was...
was it like level 9 or something?
Yeah, level 9. That sounds right. Because it was the name of the pillar that you go up.
Yeah.
The chimney. It's a chimney stack is what you're going up.
Yeah.
But it's huge. And when you get to the top, the lift, like in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Charlie and the Glass Elevator, the Roald Dahl book, the lift goes out the top and you can see the whole of London. Yeah. Like the whole of the southwest.
It's massive as well.
London.
Like you can fit 20, 30 people in there.
Yeah, it is huge. It's better than the London Eye.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So
and then there's shops and restaurants.
That's our top tip for this podcast episode.
Yeah, go to Battersea Power Station.
Battersea Power Station. It's a great day. And it's also a shopping centre and they've converted it and it's become gentrified and it's full
trendy
of trendy shops, boutique shops, nice restaurants, coffee shops. It's a good day out.
It was a good day
Highly
out.
recommend. Good. And that's what you do when I do these events. You enjoy yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
You have a fun time looking around.
Sometimes we just wait.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to do. Like
What did you do at the Waldenham Marathon?
So it was in the middle of nowhere. There was nowhere for me to go. I was by myself.
And it was a nice day.
It was a fairly nice day. So I just took my picnic chair, my book, a flask of tea, and a bag of wool and a crochet hook, and I just pitched myself up and just sat there with a packed lunch.
Yeah.
Enjoyed sitting in the sun.
Yeah, enjoying the. It was a nice area because the grounds.
It was in lovely grounds.
Yeah, it
of
was
that
the grounds
big
of the school. It was a school. The start line was in a school. So
yeah, and finish line.
And finish line because it was a loop. I do like a loop marathon. I need to start doing marathons that are in a straight line. All right, good. I'm pleased we've covered that off. What was the next point you had?
No, just talk about what we do when you're at a marathon. So at an event. So give me an event, and I'll tell you what I did while you was running.
So we've covered off the Waldenham Marathon
we've covered off what we're going to do at Battersea.
Going to be at Battersea. What did you do at the fan dance?
At the fan dance, so I came with you to drop you off.
So where was the fan dance first? Do you remember?
Wales.
Yeah, where? Wales is a big place.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
Brecon Beacons.
No, there was another bit of Wales. Like that's what the bit where you was. Where was the town? What was the town called?
The town was tiny. That was like staying where we live now. The town was small. I can't remember. But yeah, the actual fan dance was... It's funny how your mind goes to where we stayed in the hotel versus where the actual event was.
Yeah,
because the event was in the Brecon Beacons. And the Brecon Beacons is a wilderness, a vast wilderness of mountains and different terrain within South Wales. That's where the event was.
Tydfil. Was it Merthyr Tydfil?
I don't think it was, no. But we'll go with that. That'll do. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I dropped you off nice and early, weighed your bag, and then I went back to the hotel and had a shower.
Yeah.
Got the girls up.
Okay.
And then we went and had breakfast.
Right.
And ice cream.
And ice cream.
We got ice cream.
For breakfast?
Yeah.
So you had a jolly. So you got a hotel stay, a nice luxury hotel stay. It wasn't luxury, it was a travel lodge. And you had breakfast.
Yeah.
And you had ice cream.
Yeah, so then we went and found somewhere to park, which we couldn't really leave the car because we'd double parked because there was no spaces. There was like a little lay-by.
What was this for the event?
Yeah. Yeah. There was like a little lay-by because the start and finish point was at the same place. So again, a loop.
Yeah. And you waited there for me to finish.
And then we had to wait there because we couldn't leave the car. But there was like a little... what do you call it? Like there was a lady selling teas and coffees and things.
Yeah. So
we just had our picnic lunch. The girls had bought puzzle books, and we sat in the car and did those. Yeah. And then drove home.
Yeah, yeah. It was a tough gig.
It wasn't very exciting for us, that one. It was quite boring.
Yeah, but it was also, the downside to you was it was horrendous weather.
It was pouring of rain the whole day.
And there were people that were, on the event itself, there were people taken to hospital because of hypothermia.
5, I think they said.
Yeah. It makes me laugh because in my comments, I get absolutely annihilated. Not annihilated, it's probably a wrong word to use, but I get criticised in my comments for that video from ex-military of people saying that I'm wearing too many layers and I look really hot, but people were taken to hospital
with hypothermia.
And this was in the summer.
There was hailstones and everything on top of it.
It was horrendous. The wind was abysmal. The rain was chucking it down.
If you was there, you'd never have known it was the middle of July.
I wouldn't want to have run that with just a t-shirt.
No.
Which is what all my commenters seem to think I should have done it. But anyway, I'm going off on a bit of a rant there. I feel I needed to say that.
So for the 100k one...
Yeah, which was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we wasn't at the start line for this one.
No.
Because I had to work still on that event. But we met you at the halfway point, didn't we?
Yeah.
With all of your halfway... what do you call it?
Support?
No, like we bought
my gear.
the gear, didn't we, that you needed for the halfway point. So we stayed, you was there for about an hour, wasn't you? Yeah. So we stayed with you.
No, it wasn't an hour. So when you met me at the halfway, by the time you got there, you was an hour, but you were there just before me.
Yeah.
I arrived at the halfway point and what you brought was the food that I'm going to eat.
Yeah.
You had my change of trainers, change of clothes if I needed it, but it turned out I didn't need it.
You didn't need it.
Last year when I did it, it was so hot that when I got there, it was
like you'd been swimming in the Thames.
Yeah, I was soaked through sweat, so I needed to change my clothes, but I didn't need to this year. And then you had all my drinks and all my electrolytes and my energy gels, all my medical kit. So I was able to service myself because you had it all set up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Which, you know, unless you've run these events, coming back to my original point, which was around the best tip I can give to anybody looking to do events like this is have good support. Because I couldn't imagine doing it on my own. I could. I'd find a way.
It'd be a lot harder.
But it's so much easier having someone there like you who's laid everything out for me, reminds me, because I get brain fog. So when I'm doing this stuff, I'll forget to take, you know, my energy gels, or I'll forget to replenish my electrolytes.
Or you get fixated on one thing that actually isn't that important.
Or even, but something is important. So stuff like changing my GoPro battery.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't need that to finish the run, but then I wouldn't be able to film it if I forgot my battery.
And the only reason you're running it is to film it.
No. Well, that's not the only reason I'm running.
No, not the only reason, but
thanks for that.
it has quite a large impact.
Yeah. So, yeah, it does have it. I mean, I like filming for my YouTube channel. So, but yeah, that was the Ultra. And there were some other events this year. London to Brighton.
Yeah.
So your support.
So we had a nice little day out in Brighton,
You had a
me
day
and the
out
girls.
at the seaside.
We dropped you off
Yeah.
early in the morning.
Yeah.
And then we drove into Brighton, parked up, and then we spent the afternoon shopping.
Yeah.
They've got quite a nice town centre, like shopping centre.
Yeah.
And then we walked up and down the beach,
Yeah.
got some ice cream.
It was a nice day.
It was
So you got a recommendation. So someone recommended to you try a vegan fish and chip stand.
yes.
There was a purpose-built vegan.
It was like in them archways.
Yeah.
That all of them had
So
restaurants.
it wasn't a restaurant. It was a stand-stroke restaurant. It was like a purpose-built, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
you couldn't sit in. You had like the
Tables
picnic
outside,
tables
yeah.
outside.
It was in the Arches in Brighton. If anyone
Yeah.
knows Brighton seafront, you know exactly where we're describing. And you had been recommended this vegan fish and chip shop, which we'd tried, didn't we, when I finished?
Well, we knew we was going to be in Brighton for the ride. We'd finish. We'd need food. So we decided to go to this place.
Yeah, when I'd finished.
Yeah.
So we tried it, and it wasn't very nice.
No.
It was horrible, actually.
I wouldn't recommend. It wasn't horrible, but I wouldn't recommend
the chips,
it.
Yeah, but when you're paying, I mean, it was like £10 each, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
For vegan fish and chips. Now,
It was the same pieces of fake fish you can buy in Tesco's.
yeah, I mean, the reality is that vegan fish, I mean, come on, it's not going to be that nice anyway. It's vegan fish. I'm not a fan of fake meats at the best of times, but I'm definitely not a fan of fake fish because the smell's put into it and the taste is put into it. Anyway, I'm going off on a vegan tangent. My point is it wasn't very nice, was it?
No.
So, you know, if we did that again, we'd go somewhere else.
There was another place that was an actual restaurant that's a vegan fish and chips restaurant, but we was worried about what to do with the bike.
Yeah.
In a restaurant,
On
because you can't
hindsight-
just walk into a restaurant with the bike.
No, on hindsight, because there was thousands of people with bikes.
Yeah.
Because of the event of the event I was doing. But on hindsight, what we should have done was book into a hotel.
Yeah, probably.
Book into a hotel.
But we only do that when it's too far away to drive home.
Yeah.
Normally, if it's within
We could have enjoyed it more, I think.
Yeah.
We could have enjoyed our time at Brighton. Had a walk round, had something nice to eat at a nice restaurant, enjoyed the seafront. Because it was a bit bish bash bosh that day.
It was a little.
And it was weird because I'd treated it as if it was a big endurance event.
And it turned out it wasn't.
And I did it in just over 4 hours. And I felt fine afterwards. So we could have had more.
Because it was quite a long walk from where you finished along the seafront to the complete opposite end to find that restaurant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it was another good 15-minute walk back to the car.
I mean, the thing is, when I do big events like the 100K or even a marathon, running a marathon, it takes it out of me, completely kiboshes me. So when I'm finished, the last thing I'd want to do is go for a long walk along the seafront and then sit in a restaurant and eat food.
Yeah. Because when you finished the 100K, you just
I want to be
got in the car and we was gone.
Oh, I was passed out. I was in a bad place. But you know, and I'm not saying it's the same as a 100K because it's not. Running 100K and cycling 62 miles is two
completely
very
different
things.
things.
But I was treating it as if I would be that knackered at the end.
Yeah, but you'd never done anything like that before, so you didn't know.
I was very much out my comfort zone. It was more psychological than it was physical for me. But when I finished, I was very proud of how far I'd come. I mean, it's shows my progress. It shows all the hours of training that I do is paying off because I was able to cycle 62 miles in just over 4 hours with Ditchling Beacon in the middle I say in the middle, in the last 25%. And I was fine. Like I was fine afterwards. I was fine the next day. I felt good.
But then that made it a nicer day for us because it meant we could enjoy being in Brighton with you rather than just us being in Brighton on our own while you were cycling and then we're going home. But there was still quite a few hours of the day left that could have been enjoyed.
It comes back to my original point, which if we stayed in a hotel, we could have enjoyed it more. And I think the reason why we didn't was because I assumed that I would want to just, you know, be in my own bed.
And it was only a 2-hour drive to get home.
Yeah, that was a good event though. London to Brighton, I really enjoyed that, and which is why I'm gutted that next year's event, which is quite a good segue actually onto our last point and the challenges that I've got coming up. But I'm a bit gutted that next year's event, which is Ride London, has been cancelled. So I got emails. Did I mention this already? So I've got emails.
Not today.
No. So I've got emails from the organisers of Ride London. And for those that don't know, Ride London is a 100-mile bike ride from central London through East London out into Essex, turn around, go back, and you finish on Tower Bridge. That's the original route. But they've cancelled it. The organisers.
And that was the only event that you had planned for next year.
Yeah.
Other than this Battersea Marathon.
It was the big event.
That was going to be it.
Yeah, it was the big event I had planned that I was really looking forward to. And it was something completely out of my comfort zone. 100 miles on a bike on London roads, closed roads. So I wouldn't be on there with cars. No. But still, you know, I've never cycled 100 miles. I did the Uber Pretzel, which is indoor cycling. I did the Uber Pretzel on Zwift last week. And that was 130k with over 2,000 metres of climb. And I did it on my Watt bike. And even though it's not the same as in real life cycling, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed cycling that distance, and you know, it was challenging, but I felt okay afterwards. I mean, when I was climbing out to Zwift, which was the last climb on the ride, I was struggling. But when I finished and had something to eat, I was okay. So I think I'm in a place where I think I can cycle 100 miles.
Yeah, I think you could.
Yeah, which is why I was looking forward to that event. So I need to find something else.
Yeah.
I'm in a place where I don't want to do any of the things that I've already done because I've done...
You want new challenges.
I want new challenges. Some of the events I've done, like the Thames Path, I've done twice. London 55k, I've done twice. London to Brighton was great, but I felt like it didn't challenge me. It was more of an enjoyable ride from overcoming the psychological aspects of being on a bike with cleats.
Which is why you wanted to do the Ride London, because then that's the next step up.
Yeah. It was just overcoming being on a bike with cleats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which, for me, is the bigger challenge than finishing it. But I wanted to find something else. I especially wanted some cycling events. I wanted to do something on my bike. And I haven't come up with anything. I mean, I've had a couple of recommendations. There's a Fred Whitten challenge.
Who's that?
I'm not sure who Fred Whitten is. I think he was someone who organised it originally. But it's the name of the challenge. It's in the Lake District, and it's a brutal, brutal course. Long distance, like a really long way, longer than 100 miles.
Sounds awful.
I can't remember how far it is, but it's really, there's lots of hills. I mean, it's a very pretty area, Lake District.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Beautiful.
We went camping there once.
Yeah, so I'm considering that. That's an option because a lot of people do that, and it's a well-known event in the world of, you know, IRL cycling. So that's up there.
Can you never say that ever again?
I say IRL cycling all the time. What's wrong with that?
Not to me.
Yeah, but when you Zwift, if I just say cycling generically, 90% of my cycling is on Zwift. Oh. So, you know, I have to differentiate between the two. So that's that was one idea.
What other ideas have you got?
So the other ideas that I've got are I'd quite like to cycle from where I was born to where I live now.
Yeah, which is how many miles?
Not that far. I think
like
that's
60,
70 miles. So I'd like to do that, but the challenge of that would be London, because I was born near London Bridge.
And you'd have to do it on roads with cars.
I'd have to do it initially, yeah. So, and then once I've come out of East London and into Essex, it would be on, I'm hoping, bike paths or trails. Yeah. So that would be a good challenge.
Yeah.
And a big challenge that I would really like, but this is something which would take a lot of money, effort, time, and planning, I suppose, is cycling from London to Paris. And I know you can sign up to events, but I don't want to sign up to an event to do it. I want to do it on my own. I want to cycle from London to Paris. And originally I was thinking about Could I do it in one go? But it's like 300 miles.
That's a bit far.
Yeah.
For one go.
One go. So I might split it into 2 or 3 days and see if I could cycle from, I don't know, Trafalgar Square to the Champs-Elysees.
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah. That was a challenge I came up with, but I'm not sure.
And that means we get to spend time in Paris.
Spend time in Paris. So that'll be fun. That'll be something to do.
Yeah.
But I'd have to think about how I'd get the bike back, because in an ideal world, you would...
I'd have to drive
there. No, in an ideal world, you could fly or get the Eurostar. That would be the easiest thing for you. But then I'd have a bike that I'd have to get home, which I think you can take on the Eurostar. I'm
pretty sure you can.
Which we might have to look into. But that's an option. And that's it. I haven't got anything else. So running-wise, I don't want to do any of the events I've already done. I would like to return and complete...
The only one you want to do again is the Race to the Stones, because you didn't get to run that.
I'm not going to do that.
You're not?
No, because the organisers have upset me.
Oh.
So I injured myself doing the fan dance, which was the week before Race to the Stones. The fan dance was supposed to be part of my training, which if I'd have got through the fan dance unscathed, I would have been really good training for Race to the Stones. And then as I went in, obviously doing the fan dance, I destroyed my feet. I mean, my feet, I've still got scars now.
Yeah.
My feet still haven't recovered. That's how badly injured my feet were. So obviously I couldn't do Race to the Stones. I contacted the organisers. They didn't respond to me. I had to send several emails. Eventually, with my emails getting more and more to the point, eventually they responded, and it was just a link to their terms and conditions. And all I was asking for was a deferral. I was happy to pay the price. I was happy to pay for a deferral. I just didn't... 175 quid that cost me.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, to lose. And I couldn't run it. There's nothing I could do.
You couldn't even put shoes on at that point.
No. So I asked the question, and it was the way in which they... I mean, I understand the answer was no, but...
It was just the way they said it.
It was just the way they did it. I'm just being...
So you've got no running challenges.
I'm just being a misery guts.
What other challenges do you have in the
That's it. Those are the only things. I've got no running challenges at all planned. I've got nothing really. I mean, it's not a running challenge. I'm going to do the National 3 Peaks. So you know what the National 3 Peaks are? Yeah. So I'm going to do them, which is...
But you are going to, shuffle it, though, aren't you?
Yeah,
surely. You're not going to walk the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to ramble up. So... Yeah, I'm going to go for it, but but you don't,
All right, so that's a challenge. It's not a running challenge.
I'm not sprinting it. It's because the problem is...
Why not?
The problem is, part of it is driving. You've got to drive between them.
No, who's got to drive between them? It's not you, is it?
No, you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can just say, for anyone that can hear that in the background...
it's a road sweeper.
Yeah, we've got a road sweeper going past our house, cleaning the road, which is really loud. Considering we've got double glazing and I can hear it in the microphone, it is really loud.
And we're at the back and that's out the front.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about that. So, apologies. No. You're going to have to drive in between the mountains as my support crew. But the challenge is, I mean, I was going to do it myself, but you won't let me.
I just think it's too dangerous for you to drive all the way home from whichever one you finish on, the Scotland or the Wales one, to drive that fatigued.
Yeah, but I don't have to drive home. I could sleep where I am, where I finish. I'm happy to sleep in the car. That wouldn't be the end of the world.
I still think it's a bit much.
Anyway, but
I think it's a bit dangerous.
That's one of the challenges that I'm gonna take on. So Ben Nevis, Scafell Pike, Snowdon, in 24 hours. It includes all the driving, and there's 5-6 hours driving in between, all within 24 hours.
Yeah. That's going to need some planning and negotiating,
which will be the fun part. Organising it, making sure it's structured. Making sure there's a plan there, not winging it, which is how I pretty much do everything in my life.
Yeah.
Winging a prayer.
Doesn't always work.
So it doesn't, no. So that's where we are.
You got any more other challenges up your sleeve?
That's what I want to do. Those are my ideas. I don't know how I feel about some of them. Some of them are very much 50-50, like the Fred Whitton. I'm not sure about that because...
Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
That's a big one. London to Paris would be amazing. I'd love to do that, and I would. Well, the
road sweeper's
really loud. Sounds like it's in our garden. We're at the back of our house as well. Crikey! Yeah. Are you sure it's not a drag car? That sounds like one of them rocket cars that you see on Top Gear. Okay, so that's where I'm at. That's the plan. That's where we are. Anything else you want to add?
Well, you've covered everything on my list. Where we are right now, and all the spare time you've had.
Yeah.
What me and the girls do when you're off running,
We've covered that off.
basically we just find somewhere nice to sit and have a cup of tea.
You make a day out of it, don't you?
Yeah.
You don't just, sit there waiting for me to finish. We find things
somewhere to go
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
And what you plan to do next for the rest of this year and into next year?
Can we talk about one thing before we end this podcast? Because we are coming to the end now. But can I just add one more thing that we have planned?
What do we have
I say
planned?
I haven't done any planning for it whatsoever. So my new co-host and producer of my show, she has, you have orchestrated a big event for next year, haven't you?
You mean our holiday?
Yeah, our holiday.
Yeah.
So in between me making YouTube videos, running events and cycling events to film for those YouTube videos and making podcasts, and also, which by the way, those things I've just mentioned don't pay the bills, but also to add to that our own family run business, which we both run together, we have no spare time, do we?
None whatsoever.
So all those things I've just mentioned, we haven't been on holiday this year or last year.
Our last holiday was 2019.
So we haven't been on holiday. Okay. Okay. So this makes us sound like really bad parents. But yeah, we haven't had a holiday since 2019 because we are workaholics.
Well, there was 2 years of pandemic in between.
Yeah.
Which kind of prevented holidays.
I mean, other people went on holiday. So anyway, that's a different subject. But yeah, we haven't been on holiday for a long time. You have decided enough's enough and have gone out and booked something. What have you booked?
I've booked a cruise.
Yeah, we're going on a cruise.
A Mediterranean cruise around the Greek islands.
Yeah, so we are 55 years old now. We have booked a holiday for the over 55s. Not that there's anything wrong with a cruise, but you're really looking forward to it, aren't you?
It's something we've never done before, anything like this at all.
Around the Greek islands.
Yeah.
It's going to be sunshine and there's going to be lots of excursions as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
And you actually came up with a random challenge that I could do.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Should we mention it or should we not? It sounds. I'm a bit not sure because I don't think the logistics is going to actually allow me to do it.
When I was trying to think of an idea, because you told me if I wanted to go on holiday, I had to book it.
Yeah.
And I could book whatever I wanted. So I did lots and lots and lots of looking.
Yeah.
Before I actually settled on a cruise.
Yeah.
And then I was researching the cruise and...
Okay, get to the point.
On the website, there was a list of frequently asked questions. And one of those questions was, can you run on the ship? And the answer was yes. And then it lists all of the different ships in their fleet and how many laps of the deck you have to do to make a mile. So the particular boat that we're on, you need to do 4 laps. Well, it's 4 horseshoes because you can't make a full circle.
Yeah, so basically...
4 horseshoes makes 1 mile.
I'm going to interject. So what Tracie's trying to say is that she came up with the idea of me running a marathon on the deck of the ship.
Yeah, but you're not too keen on
that was
the
a
idea.
really long way of saying that then.
Yeah, but you have to give it some context.
You've lived with me far too long that you've turned a simple premise into a long story.
You have to give it some context, else everybody will be like, what's she talking about?
So run a marathon on the deck of the ship.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind that this ferry,
it's not a ferry.
What is it? A cruise?
A cruise ship.
Christ, I've lived in London too long. This is not the Woolwich ferry. Right. That's what I pictured in my head would be a ship, but it is a ship and a half. You showed me a picture.
Yeah, it's massive.
It's huge.
It's like 4,000 people on board.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing I've ever seen. Like, I don't understand how that stays afloat. But it's got a huge deck, and how big's the deck? 1 mile.
No, 4 horseshoe laps makes 1 mile.
4 horseshoe laps. So if I run that multiple times, I could run a marathon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe not a marathon then. Maybe you could just do like
It's over 100
10K.
laps. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it'll be a good challenge.
My only concern with challenging that, the only thing I've got in my head, and obviously I've never been on a cruise ship in my life, as you can tell. I know I'm calling it a ferry for Christ's sake. So I've never been on one in my life. And the only challenge I can see is the deck is going to be used by a lot of people. If there's like 4,000 people on the ship, that's going to be a popular area because that's going to be the outside space. So unless I get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which I don't mind doing, I'm not adverse to that. You've got hiccups.
Yeah.
So unless I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to be running past people that are going to be lying on loungers and deck chairs and relaxing. And there's me stamping past them like an elephant, filming myself.
It will just add another... a different element to the
holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
To the race.
So that's where we are. That's that's this week's podcast. That's where we are at the moment. Not the most motivational message, the fact that I haven't done enough training for next week's marathon. That's going to be a good video regardless, because it's either going to be a video of me struggling, it's going to be a video of me having a good time, or it's going to be... What are you staring at?
I'm listening to you.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a video of 3 options, really. It's going to be option number 1, it's me struggling to run a marathon and dying a death. It's going to be option number 2, is me just having a great time but not doing anything special. Or option number 3, I somehow, miracle of miracles, run a PR. I'm not sure option 3, it's going to be option 1 or 2. And I'm thinking option 1, the fact that I haven't done any running really. So that's where we are.
I think you'll struggle.
You think I'm going to be all right?
Yeah, I think you'll be all right.
What's going to be my main advantage? What's going to be the thing that gets me through it?
Having your amazing support crew at the end of it.
I'm pleased you realise that's where I was going with that. So that is a fantastic ending to a really good show. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget, I upload these episodes every week, so please consider supporting me on both Patreon, if I haven't mentioned that already, which is where these episodes get aired a whole season early, so you get access to all of these episodes before they go live on my second YouTube channel, which is Ryan Condon UNSCRIPTED. Anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
How did your first episode go as my co-host?
I think you did too much talking.
I'm not the one describing running a marathon on the deck of a ship, and it took me half an hour to say it. Context. Well, that's what I'm doing. Context. I should have called my podcast Ryan Condon Uncontexted. No? Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Will you be back next week as my co-host?
Probably not.
Well, the fact that it took you half an hour to think about it, probably not. Okay, guys, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. See you in next week's episode.